Welcome to a new type of conversation. With each episode, we'll meet with inspiring people sharing best practices at the forefront of creating change for our young people. We'll talk motivations that make a difference and how their lived experience can help empower us to take action and make a difference in the lives of young people where we live. My name is CJ Sturmer, and this is the Champions for Youth podcast. Learning to be physically active is a vital part of a healthy lifestyle, especially for our young people. This isn't just about structured exercise, it's about movement in all forms. Getting youth moving throughout the day isn't just helpful, it's essential. And it doesn't have to happen in PE class or even just after school. It can and should happen everywhere, anytime, in ways that are accessible to everyone. Today, I'm sitting down with Brooke Curran from Move2Learn, an organization that is bringing simple, joyful, and powerful movement opportunities into schools, especially for students who face the greatest barriers to access and focus. We talk about everything from reducing classroom disruptions and supporting mental health to improving attendance, school culture, and even how students see themselves. This isn't about adding something extra to a packed school day. This is about rethinking what's already there. Let's get moving. Hi, Brooke. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Hi, CJ. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much for asking me to join you.
Of course. So, Brooke, I know you and I have talked about the importance of getting our young people just moving. I'm very curious, what motivated you to start taking action into this type of organization?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. The reason why I did this was I wanted to create a school system that I wish I had had growing up. I was a student who couldn't sit still, who couldn't focus in the classroom, who always was disrupting, nicknamed literally the mosquito, because I was always flitting around everywhere that I went. But the consequence of that was distracting the classroom, disrupting the classroom, things like sit down, act right? And then I felt like something was wrong with me. And that stuff sticks over the years. And so I wanted to create something that could, bring opportunities to students like me who have challenges throughout the day. When's the last time you sat for 7 hours and, felt good? Felt like you could focus, concentrate, didn't have that extra energy that you're bouncing off the walls. It wasn't until years later in life that I learned how movement made me feel better about my day. I felt more focused, things that for some reason were bothering me and I didn't know what the answer is. I was a pack-a-day smoker in high school and college, and learning about Spark by Dr. John Rady, who really put the science behind it, the dopamine, the endorphins, everything that happens. And I just stumbled across that book. And so that dopamine, that endorphin, all of that I have learned since that you get from smoking is the same thing that physical activity can do for you. At that point, I started picking up running, and then running turned to marathoning. CDC tells us this. NIH tells us this. There's so much evidence that shows how movement can support mental health, well-being, focus, and attention. And so it was me turning my learned experience into something bigger and larger. And so it was all of these things kind of happening all at once that made me just start Move2Learn, and had the basic overall premise of what movement can do and give students agency over how they learn and how they feel throughout the school day. So we're an educational nonprofit. We work with K-12, 14 elementary schools, 2 middle and 1 high school, 114,000 students from many different languages and cultures. Our belief is for students to learn more, they just need to be in their seats less. And we work with teachers and principals about the easy ways to get moving throughout the school day, how you can do it in short periods of time, scattered throughout the day with little to no space, and in a way, creative opportunities for before and after school programs. Everything that we do is free to students. So not only programs, but all the materials needed, shoes, socks, we do all of that. Everything is right at schools. So there's no transportation barrier ever, no pay to play sort of thing. We love we love soccer, but not everyone can get across the city at a certain time and have all the gear. And, sports are expensive.
I remember when I was younger in elementary school, right? We had our playtime and we were outside a lot and PE. How does that affect young people as they get older?
Most people would say, sure, elementary school students, they should be having recess, or sure, they should be moving a little bit more. But the fact is that, our students are moving less, either because of state requirements for the testing, the teaching for tests, and taking away, time in the playground. Not every school does PE multiple times a week or even gets recess every day. We know as students get older, let's say in middle school, particularly, that's when there is a lot less PE, a lot less recess. And we know that students are moving a lot less anyway in life. Gone are the days of walking to school, the freedom to play outside. Gone are the days of kind of the free access to just playgrounds and general space. Many feel that way for safety reasons. And so that's why for us, it's been really important to make sure that these are accessible in the school day and at school.
So you're creating this holistic curriculum, not just about movement. There's this whole encompass sort of ideology around what you're supposed to be talking about in the classroom, then adding movement to that. That's really fascinating. It's a really fun way of just adding a little bit of extra. Some of the other things that we also learn in our community is just a lot of barriers, not just in movement, but to your point, other requirements of these educators. What are some of the barriers that you are finding most common, and how does the organization get around those?
For our educators, there's been a 56% increase in classroom disruptions since the pandemic. And teachers indicate that these disruptions are one of the top reasons why they leave the profession altogether. So introducing creative movement opportunities to actually buy teachers extra time is a way for them to get more teaching time in there. And so in the classroom, that's specifically something that we do, along with providing materials, say, active seating, stationary bikes, under desk cycles, these cool accordion stools that get the extra energy out. That way also they're not bugging their neighbor and disrupting a teacher's instruction, and able to, learn better because they're more focused.
Wow. Yeah. Do you find that these sort of barriers also affects different types of communities differently? Do you find that there are some schools that are being impacted by barriers more than others?
There are some schools that are impacted further. I mean, depending on where your school is, our work supports every student's learning. However, we particularly go towards schools and students that can really be most supported, where these barriers are tallest: lack of access, lack of opportunity, lack of understanding. Some could be cultural, some could be literally just in translation, because many of our students come from other communities and come from other parts of the world where English is not their first language. And so for us, it's really interesting then talking with their families. And so not only are we helping that student, supporting that student, but helping to support the movement piece for their families as well.
So you're helping to reduce those barriers to increase access in multiple ways. That's fascinating. I like also how you said like the pay to play. Like one of those barriers is people can't afford it. They can't do transportation. So let's keep it in the schools. Let's find a way that we have access to playgrounds. We have access to fields. Why don't we use them?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories is one of our running clubs that happens at elementary school that is in an under-resourced community. On any given day, you see 40 to 50 students come to school early, 45 minutes early.
Wow.
So they can run and be with their friends. So from the students' perspective, they're just, hey, I'm getting to hanging out with my friends and I get to be outside and this is great. From the school's perspective, they're like, oh my gosh, attendance, my students are there on time, right? And they're getting extra movement in. So when they come into the classroom, they are more focused and engaged and ready to learn. They high five their coach, they put on their pedometers and then head out the door to do this walk run with their friends. And on most days, they get almost 2 miles in before the school day even starts.
How did you get them to do that? First of all, 2 miles is a long way to get a young person to just voluntarily walk. And then you're getting them to come to school early. What was the motivation? How did you get these young people to just want to show up to school that early?
It is to be with their friends. that school's a
Mm,
place for them. I belong here. I want to do this. The teachers that help us run this program are also key connectors, building relationships with their students. So the students are like, oh my gosh, I get to be with Mr. This and that, or I get to be with Ms. This
right.
and that. And then, work up towards a community goal. It's the simple answer of being community and wanting to be with each other and doing it in such a fun way. There's no hard plan as to, oh, you have to do it this way. It has to be done
Right.
now. It has to be done, during these certain hours. When we talk with educators, we creatively find solutions for them and with them. I'm not telling you, oh, you have to be doing this sort of in a physical fitness program. It's taking a passion that a teacher already has. We had a teacher passionate for running, and she then engaged a couple of folks to join her, and so all of them together, run this fabulous club with their students.
Wow. So you're almost changing what's normal by using what's normal. Like you're not reinventing
Yeah.
the wheel. You're not
Mhm.
designing this big complicated program that we have to go ask funding, then go have to ask permission, and then do all this red tape. And it was really the motivation was they just wanted to because their friends were there. Like it was it was that simple. And
It's
you
that
found a faculty
simple.
member that this is what they like to do. So why not just do it during a time that the students could also do it with me? It
Yeah.
was that easy.
Yeah, CJ, absolutely. In other schools and clubs, we have 15 different clubs this school year.
Okay.
So we've got multiple walking, running clubs. We also have yoga clubs. They know they have to be in school to do this club. And so they make sure that they're at school and then on time because we can only allow 20 to 25 different students in during the session. So those are just natural incentives for the student. We, of course, we pay stipends to the teachers to run these programs for us to help identify the students that would be, who would most benefit from these programs.
Who are some of the students that would benefit this most, and how do we present the opportunities to them?
It's a student that has a hard time feeling like they belong, a student
Mm,
that, has a hard time sitting still in the classroom, a student who couldn't afford a pay to play program or club elsewhere, or couldn't get, transportation as a barrier. And then those students who have an IEP, an individual education program. So we have movement built into their IEP so they can be learning their best.
how do we approach the students that may seem to be reluctant, right? There are going to be students that I think, sometimes have the social anxiety or maybe don't want to, or feel reluctant at first. How do we approach students like that to get them to want to participate in something like this?
Well, we certainly would never say to a student, you have to do this. And I think that's
Right.
part of it, saying that, you do not have to do this, but it turns into a want to do this when they see their friends doing it. And we never finger point and, single out a student in front of other students. So we work with teachers to identify the student that we really should be focusing on and moving more with. When you start movement, it becomes part of the school culture. It becomes part of the classroom culture. It becomes just, this is what we do here.
Right.
And that's the piece that we really do spend a lot of time working on with educators across our city to change the culture and how they think about movement, supporting their students' learning in the classroom. And then also from the principal's perspective, the AP's perspective, the school board's perspective about the
Right.
benefits of movement. Educate the educators in a way. So when a principal is walking by a teacher's classroom and he or she sees the teacher having her or his students up and moving, they're not going, oh, why are they doing that? That's not
Right.
learning, because movement for us is learning and is the key to it. And so it's something that everyone wants to do, or, perhaps you don't want to do jumping jacks, but, give the students a choice, no problem. Pick movement
Right.
of your choice. That's going to be, right in your circle here, march in place. Some students like to do push-ups off their desk. There are many different ways, but changing the culture is really the piece
Mm.
where changes minds that, oh, okay, this isn't that hard to do.
I like how you say change the culture. I think
Mhm.
that's a big phrase for me, because if we change the culture, we could change what's normal. Or how have you seen changing what's normal, changing this culture? How have you seen that actually change the classroom?
We've seen it change the classroom by teachers changing their mind, like, oh, okay, I didn't understand how movement can support my students, how movement could support me, how movement could make my job easier. One of my favorite programs is at our middle school. And we work with a variety of different groups. We lead the HCAT, the Healthy Community Action Team, through VFHY. That is a community garden that we have right in the middle of the school itself, that the students have planted and grown, really learning about how to grow fresh fruit and vegetables, and then how to maintain, care, harvest. And then one of the innovative ways that we played into that was, well, how do you water? What we do is we capture rainwater, and then we have stationary bikes. You pedal away, and that pumping process that then waters the garden itself. And so it's just a ton of fun, but also for students to get the science back behind all of that, and moving a whole lot more as well. And for students then to understand, to have agency, to empower students to say, Ms. Curran, I need to learn in the back of the classroom. Can I do that and be, on the stationary bike at the same time? It's making movement cool.
Right, right. You mentioned earlier too about school board members, administrators, principals, even, and them, walking by the classroom and asking what's going on. I can imagine in all kinds of jobs where people work with young people, there's administrative red tape, right? You have someone that you need to answer to for something. Do you encounter that a lot? Do you encounter a lot of the questions or reluctancy from people that aren't necessarily the educators, but people in more administrative roles? And then how do you solve for that?
Yeah, so to answer your question, CJ, about any reluctancy, I think everyone would say moving more is better, just in general. I would look at it from the opposite side of, well, we can move later. They can move a different time. We've got more important stuff to be doing right now. So I think about it from that angle. It's that we have our state testing happening. And so I need to make sure that my students know these particular things at the fourth grade, SOL, instructional, this and that. And so it's sidelined.
We'll get to it. It's on the list. Yeah. It's on the list.
Exactly. For us, it's not convincing people that it's a good idea to move more. It's sharing easy, adaptable ways to make movement part of the school culture. It could be like during morning announcements. It could be during transition times. There's so many opportunities to slide in 2 minutes of, let's take out the Move2Learn fitness cube and let's roll the die, and let's do what it says until math time, or during this, during these 30 seconds that we have.
This isn't a let's take time away from something to create something new. This is utilizing what we already have to think differently about the way that we're doing it. How do you get these administrators or these principals to do that? What actions do you all take to get them to say, okay, let's try it?
We frequently are at the new teacher orientation. We frequently go to principal meetings, leadership meetings. We make sure that everyone has one of our educational toolkits that come with our fitness cube. You can roll the cube. The teacher can do it. The student can do it. Multiple different languages. One thing particularly with our administrators that they find very helpful is we take their school improvement plan. Those are the requirements that they have to report back to the state. And each school has unique goals. And so we work with them about ways to incorporate movement into the school day to meet what they're already working towards, because we never want movement to be one more thing that we're supposed to be doing during the day. And so we work with the schools to create a movement plan where movement can support their already established goals that they're working for throughout the school year, that they report back to the state at the end of the school year.
So it can help with attendance because the kids want to get there, because they're motivated to hang out with their friends. It can help with behavior problems because we're reducing disruptions in the classroom. We're finding these tangential intersectionalities where movement actually improves a more holistic view of the student in school. It's not just, oh, let me move. It's a lot bigger than that.
Exactly. It's a lot bigger than that. And for students to realize how movement, supports them, helps make them feel better, get out extra anger. Some of our students come to school angry from whatever happened in their home space.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the actual teachers and the people that run these programs in the schools?
So every school year, we survey our teachers. This last school year, we had over 400 of our city school teachers tell us how we were doing. In that survey, we asked things like focus, attendance, before or after school clubs, social and emotional learning in the field. And a majority of our teachers tell us that they like their job more implementing Move2Learn programs.
Wow. That's huge.
It's a huge thing that, you can change how an educator feels about their job, the stress and the burnout that we know teachers experience. They've got a lot on their plates. So making their job better and easier is something that we're very proud about.
Right. Not only are we creating programs where we're getting our young people moving, we're also creating less disruptions in the classroom. We're also creating unique partnerships, growing gardens, and finding ways to incorporate our own curriculums. We're helping school administrators and decision makers. We're making teachers' lives easier and reducing stress. There's just so many bigger solutions this is creating, and it's absolutely fascinating. How can we empower the folks listening to think differently about what they're doing and to think differently about what's normal to be able to get people moving or to branch out to create similar solutions that you all have found?
Well, talk with anyone, across the country about ways to bring movement into the school day and ways to engage the community to do that. This is the proactive upstream work because we know that our students are our future workforce. And so how do we proactively solve or mitigate a problem before it happens? And the sense of community along with that is pretty amazing. I know that we work with our local, not only our local school system, but our local healthcare system. We work with also smaller health initiatives within the city. We work with lots of business leaders across the city, the Chamber of Commerce, because this is why this work matters. For community leaders, it's really about normalizing movement. It shouldn't be complicated. Take that 5-minute transition time, the 15 minutes once a week that you have, and bring a fun movement activity to the doctor's office, to the dentist office, to walking classroom, throughout the school day, the local PTA meetings, school board. It could be really any way to encourage the understanding of movement and how it makes us all feel better, and making sure that everyone knows movement matters.
Movement matters. Something as so simple as your Move2Learn cube right there. There's something for 5 minutes. If you're not sure what to do, roll the dice no matter where you are and find a way to get people moving.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have a wealth of information on our website. We've got movement videos there. Happy to provide something that you could put on your wall and have something right there in order to go, oh, right, I can just look there and get my idea. I don't need to think this through. It does not have to be complicated. It does not have to require a lot of equipment. You can find us at Move2Learn.org.
Brooke, thank you so much for taking the time to talk today and to show us that it's not complicated. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, and there's lots of ways to get students motivated, and that just moving does a lot more than just physical activity. So that's a lot bigger.
Absolutely, CJ. Well, it's been a pleasure to be with you today. I encourage everyone to get moving more, to feel better, to learn better, and really bring our community together.
Movement doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to be part of the conversation. And the only way we're going to make real change is if we do it together with our students, educators, and our communities leading the way. As always, thanks again to the Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth and Prevention Connections for their support. And thanks you all for listening. I really appreciate it. Now go out there, go do good, and we'll see you next time.